Use of biological pest control mechanisms is now a widely promoted concept here in Kenya, aimed at reducing the application of chemical solutions and lowering the cost of farming. We visited the founders of Real IPM, who are now making a fortune out of mass production of pest control insects. Take a look. These tiny mites can pass as just any other pest. In fact, one can easily mistake them for dust. But for Henry Wainwright and his wife Louise Labuschagne, the mites have been their source of income for the past 12 years. In their 20 acres farm in the outskirts of Nairobi, Henry and Louise have been producing about 800 million pest control mites for sale to farmers every month.
Traditionally, they've used pesticides to control this pest, but increasingly there is the use of biological control, and it's actually another spider to use to control the pest. So it's a good spider attacking and predating on the bad spider. And in this crop you can see the damage that this spider is doing, because the way we produce the good spider, Phytocilus, is we first of all have to grow the pest. Then we feed this to the Phytocilus, and then the Phytocilus multiplies and expands, and then it finishes the red spider mite, the pest. Then we harvest it, we take it to the pack house, and then we look at it, do QC on it, and then we send it out to the farmers to apply to their crops.
They started Real IPM in 2003 as expatriates whose contracts with a fresh produce exports company had expired after a 3-year stay in Nairobi.
We were employed to develop IPM and biological control for this export company. That actually lasted about 3 years, and instead of, when our contract ended, leaving Kenya, by then we'd actually seen the huge potential for biological control both in production and also in the implementation of very low chemical crop protection programs. And so we sold absolutely everything we had. We have no assets outside of Kenya, none. No house, no savings, nothing.
The sale of the assets in the UK raised about $400,000 for initial capital, which was just enough to buy a piece of land and set up basic infrastructure.
We didn't know how successful it was going to be. So, as in line with all businesses, it was a huge risk. But the risk was, in our view, worth it because we'd seen the potential. It wasn't just an innovative, interesting R&D project. We realised that the total opposite of what my colleagues had said to me when we came to the equator to do IPM. They said, the Europeans who do IPM said to me, "Oh, but Louise, there's no winter in Kenya. There's no winter to get rid of all the pests and diseases. So how are you going to do IPM?" But in the 3 years that we were here, we saw that actually the opportunity to have low-cost biological controls, so you can have totally different programs for the control of pests and diseases, because the unit cost can be much lower.
Real IPM's main customers are small and large-scale farmers in horticulture. The company says it controls a third of the biological pest control market in Kenya.
Our market leadership, as I said, comes from our ability to use the product well. So it's all very well saying, I've got a product, but a product in a bottle doesn't control anything. You've got to understand how you take that product out, how you integrate it with other crop protection agents like chemical fungicides, chemical insecticides, because you've got to think in several dimensions at the same time. You've got to think about powdery mildew control in the roses at the same time as you think about how to control your spider mite.
70% of our income comes from Kenya and 30% is from overseas. And who are our overseas customers? Well, if we talk about Africa, it's Ethiopia, Tanzania, Ghana and southern Africa, but primarily South Africa. So those are our customers within Africa. We have just signed a distributor agreement for North and West Africa, so we hope to go the other side as well. For the predators, we can also export them outside Africa, and currently we export this particular predator to Canada, the UK and to Italy, but they are distributors and we don't know where they send them after that, but we do know our spiders have got as far as Japan.
Having created a successful business over the years, Henry and Louise now employ more than 200 people in their farm. They take pride in building a stable business that is helping farmers cut their production costs.
A huge amount of money has gone into it every year. As I said, we reinvest profit. And it's now a very profitable company and stable footing. And the technology is in huge demand. Not everybody knows how to use it as well as we do. I think we pride ourselves not just in the quality and quantity of our predatory mites and biopesticides, but also in the uniqueness and the ambitious way in which we use them, whether it's in field cabbages or field tomatoes or in fancy roses. You know, we've used it in almost every crop, even in rice and maize.
Even though the business assures them of a bright future, challenges around regulation of their products persist more than a decade later.
We have to be registered, we have to be certificated by them. So, but it is a burden in terms of, but a necessary burden, and we spend quite a lot of our time working with these regulators because they obviously have to be satisfied that we have a safe technology. And of course all our organisms are naturally occurring. We have no GMO organisms here, so all of our organisms are naturally occurring.